go for it. Like I'm all open for that. We're all part of this. We're all just having a chat about the the journey really of health and fitness, which is I think something which I'm quite new to, and I'm still really new to this world. Very much learning, and but I'm really engaging in it. So I'm interested to hear from you guys about your journey. So, like, I suppose, like, when did you feel like you were like, okay, I need to start taking care of myself physically and essentially mentally, like physiologically? Like, when did that all start? Maybe I'll start with let's go Frankie. So
Well, for me, I started training when I was 15 years old. I'm 50 now, and I would probably say for me it was different for me back then. I came when I grew up in the Bronx. Part of the culture was to be as strong as you possibly could.
mm,
So for us, there was like we had to earn our space around us.
mm,
There was always this intimidation factor that you always were dealing with. I'm 5'6", so height definitely played a big part of that. I would definitely say,
mm,
and for me, it was one of those things where I knew I needed to do something with myself to get a lot of frustrations out because I had a lot of trauma growing up. And the gym created, I don't like using the word safe space. I think that's just too overly used these
mm,
days, especially for our generation.
mm,
I think the gym just gave me a feeling of belonging. Like it accepted me. It trained me to understand discipline, and it would reward me, but it would also punish me. So if I did something wrong, it would absolutely destroy me. But if I
mm,
did it right, it would reward me.
mm,
And it kept me straight. So part of it too was my brain was always scattered. And I use an analogy for people to understand what it feels like. It's like wearing shoes where the laces are very loose and you can walk in them, but they're not on your feet properly,
mm,
right? That's my brain when I'm not in a mindset of having a discipline of training.
mm,
When I am training and I have a consistency with it, the laces are tightened. And now that shoe is on my foot and it's not coming off. And I can actually power through and do all my responsibilities the way I need to because my brain is not scattered the way it was. So for me, it was more of a real necessity because I was really just always dealing with a million different thoughts. I lived in
mm,
my own head. I still do, to some degree. And the gym just gave me that sense of identity,
mm,
what it was at first. And then I started to see the rewards I was getting through it. And I kept on going on and going on and going on. And then for me, it became part of my lifestyle.
mm,
So now I couldn't live without it. That was it. And then when I hit my 20s, other responsibilities came in and other dreams came in and other things I wanted to do. So the gym, the way I was trained took a back seat. But then after about 20 years of finding other ways to keep myself in shape, I discovered new things. But then at the peak of COVID, I found myself at 220 pounds. And when I was in shape, I was running anywhere between 170 and 190. That was my in fit shape.
right.
And my son's requirements of me, the responsibilities I had with what he needed at that time, clearly indicated that I was really going to be in a lot of trouble health-wise if I didn't start taking care of myself to take care of him.
Mm. So that was essentially like that was a moment of like realization where you were like, so I've got to change. Something has to
Yeah,
change. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
and it was
And the thing,
because
Yeah, and the thing too is just that after taking such a long hiatus, like I didn't do it intentionally. It wasn't like I wanted to take away from
So
alcohol from this.
were you training like, because you said you've been doing it since you were 15, but
Yeah,
there were
yeah.
periods of year, like years that you didn't train,
There
or
were, so when I trained, my thing was the kind of gym that I grew up in is the kind of gym that you would see in the movies, where it looked like somebody took a stick of dynamite, threw it against a wall, it blew up, made a gigantic hole, and then they basically threw weights in it and they put a big stone and said gym, you know?
right.
And that's where we went. But the thing was, a lot of these guys were powerlifters and bodybuilders.
Mm,
And when you're working out in an environment like that, there's a sense of, okay, I can't come here to just mess around with the weights. Like I got to
mm,
come here with a purpose.
mm,
And when I first started, I really had the drive to want to do it. But
mm,
the purpose part was I needed to find that place in that environment that I can feel that I was accepted.
mm,
And I tried to work. I worked out with the principles of heavyweight training and bodybuilding and powerlifting, and just getting as big as I possibly could. And it was a different reason for why I was doing it,
mm,
right? But the rewards were unbelievable. I mean, I went from not being able to bench press. I think it was at the time, I think 95 pounds, and I couldn't even do it. And then after about a year and a half, 2 years, maybe at the most, I was benching around 250.
wow.
So it felt there was this progress that was
Mm,
consistently happening,
mm,
right? And that to me was somewhat distracting from a lot of traumas I had going on.
okay.
So that distraction really made me feel like I had an identity that I can now say this is me and I can
Mm,
do this and all of it. My parents hated it. Like that, full disclosure, they couldn't stand it because they were from Europe. So I'm first generation born in the United States. They're from Italy. They weren't used to this. This
mm,
was not something that they would ever adopt or just take in and say, oh yeah, he's lifting the weights. They were never into that. The people that they grew up around and how they grew up, they were very slender, they're very slim,
mm,
family culture and everything that they do that goes along with it. And I had to balance the culture that I knew what I grew up with, but also being from New York City and what the culture is
mm,
there. So there was a very big separation of the two. And here's me, and I got to find a way to balance both.
mm.
But yeah.
I want to just swing it over to Steve here. Like, Steve, what about you? Because I think your journey is really different to this. So, like, when did you kind of feel like you're like, okay, shit,
Oh,
I need to, like, I've got to do something to myself here.
well, I'd say it would be more of an evolution.
Mm,
So I started pretty much training 10 years old. So that was when I started playing Australian football, which is a football that we play in Australia, not so much around the rest of the world. So I did that for 6 years. That was a lot of running,
mm,
training and stuff like that. Um, that was just sport training. It wasn't.
mm,
I was just going there to train to play games and stuff like that. Then I switched over to probably my last year or so of playing football. I switched and started doing karate, and obviously that's a very disciplined type of sport and disciplined type of training. And just found basically got to about the age of 16, and all the sensei, the coaches and stuff like that could see a lot of potential in me. And I won my first Queensland or state championship at the age of 16. And that's when Dad pulled me aside and said, look, if you want to be serious at this, you've got to do extra training outside of your normal dojo training. So that's when I started doing sprint training, cycling, extra training at home on top of that. So I was doing that through pretty much my
mm,
through the high school years. So it got to the point where I was getting up 5 o'clock in the morning, training for 2 hours, then going to school, and
wow.
then coming back home, doing the homework, dinner, straight to the dojo training. And that was another six or so years. On top of that, I was also doing baseball for a couple of years as well. So there was a bit of mixture of sports and training, but I was always train. But once again, it was always training for a particular goal within a sport. Then as I got into my 20s, I hit the travel bug and started traveling overseas. I was loving that. When I came back, my dad, who's heavily into surf lifesaving, was at the pool. I've also done a lot of swimming as well as I was growing up. And he said, just come down the pool for a training session. So it's like, oh, yeah, I'll come down the pool. Now, at the time, he would have been in his probably 40s or something. He's swimming 1 kilometre in the water, in the pool, and I could only smash out 100 metres, which is 2 laps of a 50-metre pool. And I was bugging. It's like, I shouldn't be that unfit, considering all the hard training I've done in the past, but I had a gap because I was traveling overseas for about a year or two. So I didn't really do much training in that year or two. So that's when I was determined. So I just kept going back to the pool and training. It's like, no, my goal was to get to a swim 1 kilometre. I did that. Then I kept pushing and started doing more and more and more. So I started doing all that sort of stuff. And then over the years, I've had blocks where I've gone overseas for a period of time and come back. Even when I just felt, because of all the training I've done since I was 10 years old, I've just found that whenever I didn't train, there was just something missing in my life. There was just a missing part. So even when I was living in Japan, when we first met, Steve, there was blocks where I need to train. So I'd get up early in the morning and go for a run along the river there near your place. And I'd be doing stuff in those playgrounds that have the little monkey bars and stuff. I was doing stuff off that and stuff, just to keep myself active. And then when I went back to Australia again, that's when I started becoming a bit more aware of, I need to train to keep my fitness up, because I don't want to walk up a flight of stairs and just be absolutely buggered by the time I get to the top of the stairs. And that's when I started realizing you're getting older as we're progressing along. So I was getting So then I obviously started hitting swimming training a lot harder. I had goals for swimming training. I think goals are very important to training. If you just do training with no goals, it starts becoming that groundhog grind, and the motivation drops. So you've got to have these little mini goals, sort of micro goals, and have a macro goal at the end. So for example, with swimming, I'll just go, okay, I'm going to smash out a 120 hundreds over a K. So I'll do 10 100s, but each time I've got to hit that 120 mark every time. So I'm consistently doing that. But the macro one would be, I want to do a 10 kilometer swim set over 10 kilometers. So that's like a marathon sort of swim. So you're building up to that macro, but in the meantime, you're setting these little micro goals within each training session. Each training session, you have a little micro goal that you can do, So I think the goals were important. Pre-COVID, I was doing gym training in the surf club I'm at, and I was lifting pretty heavy weights, but I just found as I'm getting older, niggling little soft tissue issues started appearing and stuff like that. And then I read
Frankie's nodding away here.
Just these small little injuries, and then that sets you back, because it's like you've got these goals that you want to do, and then you get a little injury and it sets you back. So I switched to, I would have been about 2018, 19. I decided to set up in my garage. It's not a gym. It's basically all it is just a bar. And I started doing calisthenics training, which is body weight training, which I found that if people want to do gym, that's fine. But I found doing gym, your muscles adapt to lifting heavier weights. And I was doing 5x5. So I was doing 5 sets of 5. But then each time I do it, each time I come to the gym, I'd add 2.5 kilo of weight. So I'm always adding more and more weight. Now, yes, the muscles will adapt to that, but it's your ligaments and tendons that take a lot more time to adapt to that. So what I'm finding is, yes, I'm lifting these heavy weights, but then small things like stabilizing muscles and things like that would twinge and creak, and then you get these little micro injuries that prevent you from doing that. So I read that if you do calisthenics and you do a good progression of calisthenics, like start from simple stuff and build your strength, your tendons and ligaments will adapt to those exercises as you progress up, and you'll get less injuries. And then I found also, when I was combining the gym work with the swimming, every time I'd go to a gym session and then they say the next day I'd go to in the pool, it felt like I was swimming through quicksand. I just wasn't getting that power and strength. Even though I'm lifting power weights in the gym and stuff, it wasn't replicating in the pool. Then when I switched to calisthenics, bodyweight stuff, that's just a whole, because I had more strength in all my ligaments and tendons, you're pulling through resistance in the water and it's a lot stronger. I found I was powering through the water. It was equal. The strength training I was doing in calisthenics was almost equivalent to the type of hard training I was doing in the swim pool. So, but as we're getting older, obviously now my mindset is now switching more towards maintaining, in the sense that I'm doing the calisthenics training so that as I get older, I'm not going to have a fall, because that's the biggest cause of issues as you get older in your 70s and 80s is falls. If you have a fall and break your hip, it's a pretty downward spiral after that if you can't sort of repair yourself. So it's more now about maintaining my strength and maintaining my balance, and the cardio work is more to do with the pool. So now my mindset is more about maintenance. Still have my goals, but it's now, because of my age, it's not about looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger or whatever. Like I'm not after the image. I'm just more about practical things. Can I do, I set goals at times. Let's do 100 push-ups for a month, like every day for a month. Now it's not 100 push-ups straight. You can do 5 sets of 20 throughout the day, as long as you reach that 100 mark, but you do it every day for a month. And after that month, you'll be amazed from the time you started to the time you finished at that month, how much more strength you've got. So it's just, but it's all, what it is just that keep that movement going, keep that strength going, keep that balance going, minimize the amount of injuries, but just, it's all about maintenance now as I'm getting older. And the other important thing that back in the past when I was training, when I was younger, in my teens and 20s and potentially early 30s, I'd be training as much as I can. I could train once or twice a day if I wanted to. Like, I was just so focused on making sure that I was getting so much training in. My mindset's now changed, where it's like, I need the rest. So now I will do a training session, and I might not train the next day because I need my body to recover. Because you get older, you need that more rest. And I find I'm actually training a lot better when I have that rest day. So in the past, I'd be like, I want to train, like I would do swim training 3, sometimes 4 days a week. Now it's down to 1 or 2 days a week for swimming, and I'm still performing.
I think it's so interesting. One thing, like both your stories kind of start quite early. Like you said, you started when you were like 10, kind of doing exercise and things, and Frankie, you're saying like when you were 15, you're hitting weights and doing that kind of stuff. And how common, like, because I don't know how common this is, because for me it really, really different. Like I did a couple of, like, I used to play touch rugby and a little bit of cricket when I was young, when I was kind of growing up, bit of soccer, nothing full on. And then I think for me, possibly my asthma, or the fear of my asthma, really just prevented me from kind of going any further than this. And I did a couple of small marathons when I was very young as well. And then I just did sweet fuck all. Basically, I did nothing. I did really no exercise at all. A couple of times where when I lived in when I was back in New Zealand growing up, I joined the gym. Went down to the gym, and I don't know why I joined the gym. Actually, I don't know why. I remember just feeling really, really out of place in there. I was probably 16, 17 maybe, and I just remember just feeling doing the lat pull downs. I remember doing that and just thinking, like, what the fuck am I doing? And then I didn't stay very long. I think I lasted a couple of months, and then I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. And then my next gym experience was when I went to London, and I was kind of joined with one of my colleagues at the time. We were like, oh, let's join the gym. Let's get up and hit the gym. And we were both kind of like, we're about the same age, and we're like, oh, well, let's give it a go. So we joined the gym, and again, I did that. I wasn't really, but I didn't know why I didn't know why I was doing the gym. I don't think I had a reason why I was like in there. It was just, it seemed like a fucking good idea. What idea that was is I don't know. And which is, but the fact that I was in the gym was a good thing. Perhaps I should look at it and go, the fact that I actually showed up at 6 a.m. in the morning to hit the gym was impressive. But I didn't know why I was there. I just did it because it was something that someone gave me, like, well, let's just join the gym. Oh, okay. Haven't done this since I was like 17 years old. And now I'm like, well, it's probably about 25. So it was about 10 years later, say, maybe. And then I stopped doing that. I just didn't end up going. I just didn't go. I had no why. There was no fucking why. Why was I in that gym? And so when I had no why, is that there's no reason to go, right? No motivation. And then fast forward to 2019, and I burned myself out. And then about 3 years ago, so we go 2023, I start thinking about, or 2022, 2023, I start thinking about the gym again. And I'm like, it's going around my head, like, I should join the gym. But there's no fucking why. There's still no why in my head. Like, why do I want to join? But there's like this thing, like, the gym seems to be something which I think I should do. So I want to know what your why is. What is the real why that you get up, you go down there, Frankie, and you push those weights, sometimes you don't feel like you want to be in that room. Sometimes I guarantee you, like, I ain't really got my ass, but you go down there, right? Steve, so I bet sometimes you don't want to go into that shed of yours when it's like, roasting hot in summer, but you're like, fuck this, I'm going to go do this. Why do you do this?
Well, I think,
for me, the first thing I think I would say this it pertains really to what Steve had said earlier about having a goal. Without the goal, you're right. There's really no reason to do it. Like, there is a reason to do it, but in your mind, there's no reason to do it. You have to have that goal, otherwise you're never going to keep. So I'm very goal oriented, and I imagine we're all probably the same in that area. But for me, the reasons changed over time. But the one thing that never changed was the whole goal purpose, right? So when I was training, I wanted to be on stage like the other guys who I was working out around. Like the way they looked just amazed me. So I wanted to be like that. And I had the opportunity to be on stage, but it took a lot out of me. And I knew that if I was going to do it again, I would have to probably take a path, kind of like Steve, the way you said your father came up to you and talked to you about it. If you're serious about this, you got to start thinking outside the box a little bit, if I could paraphrase it. The thing is that I knew that I wasn't going to go on any further with it, because I knew I had limits as to what I was going to allow myself to do. So after I did the whole competition thing, it felt like a massive goal that I had done, and then all of a sudden it just died. Like, I didn't have the drive to want to do that anymore, because I put all of this effort in for this one day, and then once that day came, I had the experience. It was incredible. I loved it, and then it just died for me for a while. Just for a while. Right, I didn't have the drive to want to go in.
How long, Frankie?
It's
how long did it die for?
Well, it died, but then what ended up happening, I got injured.
Right.
So then I really took a hiatus from it, because when you get an injury, it messes with you. Like, now you're afraid that if you go in there and do even half of what you did, it's going to happen all over again. I sustained a double rotator cuff injury. When I had 135 pounds behind my neck, and at the time these were exercises that we all did, And the guy who was spotting me didn't take the bar back the way he was supposed to. So when I went to go hand the bar to him, there was a range between here and back here. You have no strength whatsoever.
Yeah.
And the bar literally came crashing down, and I heard both of them. Like my arms were hanging like they were just limbs. There was no life in them. And I could feel like everything in my shoulders was starting to just like shake. And that pain, I didn't get checked out because I was very stubborn with that whole thing. I just didn't get checked out. But they did recover. They did recover, but for a while, I never trained my rear delts the way I should have, because those muscles back there are what are most important to keep your rotator cuffs in place. All that whole structure there is very much reliant on your rear delt muscle groups, and I just didn't do that. I know I'm getting off track. I'm going in the weeds a little bit, but the point I'm trying to make is that the goal and why you do something, my why, it changed over time. I think, as Steve said, he's right. It's an evolution. Like the reasons change, they just keep on changing. But the goal component has to be there. So when I got back into training, the really heavy weight training when I was 45, I'm not 25 anymore. And I don't have what I used to have, but I still had the goal mind of I can still do this in a way that I can bring the best version of me at this age, like I brought the best version of me back then. But he is 100% correct on how the body responds to weights versus calisthenics versus other types of weight training. My ligaments and my joints all took a hit. They all took a hit. So for now, my why has to change with it as well. You know, my why was to be aesthetically, being in the right shape, and to be strong. But then I started discovering like half the exercises I was doing don't really do anything for me for the needs of of my requirements now in my life. So what am I doing with these exercises for? Like, why am I deadlifting 315 pounds when I really don't need to be when I don't need to be doing that kind of weight? I just don't need to be doing it. And at 50 years old, there's no reason for me to go for 1-2 rep maxes. You know, I used to do bench pressing. I don't do them anymore. Now I do push-ups for my chest. And a world of a difference. The blood flows better. The muscles feel great, and there's no pain in my joints whatsoever. None whatsoever. But when I go under the bench, the second that barbell comes up, I could feel my delt start to react to it, all of it. There's just the whys just change with the time. And he's 100%. Everything that Steve said, I could not have said it better myself. It's like I watched my whole life just flash in front of my eyes in the past 10 years. Everything he says is absolutely accurate. As you get older, it's not about the way you look. It's about how you feel and maintaining the muscle that you have, because we get older, especially now that a lot of us sit down in our chairs a lot more often than we used to. You know, all that muscle can be lost over time. And I think the why is one of those things that evolves, and it can evolve from day to day. Sometimes I come into the gym space and I'll just stretch and do nothing else. And that's my workout for the day. And I'm fine with that. I'm not. Yeah,
I love that. I think that's such an important thing. And I want to just pass the ball back to Steve here in a second. But I love that you were able to kind of, you know, when you like, I've got to go into that space. I need to go into that room, because that's the space where I feel like, you know, I'm seen and I've got to do something for myself. And even if it's stretching, and I don't want to say just stretching, because I think even stretching, as Steve knows, is like so important, right? So like, this is where I think some of us, and even me, like, I think to myself, like, oh, you know, like, I don't really want to kind of do this today, but I'll do something, because something is way better than absolutely sweet fuck all, because sweet fuck all doesn't get you anywhere. Like, no. But there are times that I will do absolutely bugger all, because I'm like, you know what, I'm not going to do anything. Like, I am not, because I'm listening to my body. But Steve, what about you? Like, what is the why? I want to go back to that real solid why of why you go into that shed. Or is it a shed? Sorry, is it a shed or is it just?
Yeah, it's a shed. What's a garage shed? Can be anywhere really. But
Okay. But why do you go in there when you really don't feel? Because I think this is key. When you don't feel like you want to go in there, but you're like, no, I got to go in there. What is it?
Well, I think I'm just going to retract a bit about what you were saying. I think in the sense I was lucky because through my journey of training, I've had many different ways to train. Training in the pool, I've done sprint training, I've done running training, I've done calisthenics, I've done gym work. I've done all sorts of various types of training, which gave me a good indication of what works well for me and what I like. So I can guarantee 100% I hate running. I did it when I was younger, obviously for the football. If someone says, do you want to do a triathlon? I said, okay, I'll do the bike riding because I've done bike riding or training for that. I'll do bike riding and swimming, but forget about the running. Get someone else to do the running part. I'm not doing the running part. So that's just me. Other people that are listening, what are you talking about? Running's the best thing in the world. That's them. So you've got to kind of find your niche and what you enjoy. And I've been lucky that, and this is where I want to go back to and ask you a question. When you wanted to do any sort of exercise, why did you choose gym?
Me?
Why was it just why was it gym? Like, because you said in New Zealand, you went, I'm going to join the gym. And you went to the gym, and then you get the gym. It's like, why the fuck am I here? And it's the same when you're in London. Why the hell am I here? So why was the reason? I think I know what the reason or what the answer will be. But what do you think that?
I think the reason I joined the gym was it was somewhere where I could just get away from it all, and it was. But I didn't realize the power of that until I actually really went there. But to kind of fill in a couple of like blanks there is that my life was so revolving around with Jamie, and I just felt like all I was doing was working, and I'd come home and I was dealing with him and my wife as well, of course. But I had nothing external to it. There was nothing external to my life apart from life and home. And I needed that thing where running wasn't like you said. Running was not something that I felt like I was born to do, if I could say that. So I didn't want to do that. Cycling, yeah, maybe. Like cycling, I could do that, but I just felt like it wasn't really my thing either. So I was like, maybe the gym, I think, could be something. And so I think it was an external place where I could go and get away from my world. I'm going to say, put it out there, say escape from my world, because I think that's what it allowed me to do. Back in the day, when I first started joining the gym here, that's what I'd say it did. It allowed me to get away from my world and look after myself, because
it's you time.
It was my time, yeah. And I couldn't achieve that at home. There was just too many things. So that's why I went. That's why I would go to the gym. But would
the reason why you went, okay, because and I find this with a lot of people when they want to start doing exercise, I'll go to the gym. Well, why the gym? There's plenty of other things that you can do. It's because I think it's just ingrained in everyone that the gym is the place to go. I don't know. I know it's like in Japan, and I know it's like in Australia. I'm not too sure about America, but just about every corner place there's a gym. There's so many gyms. It's like, how many people go to the gym? Like, there's so many people, because they've ingrained in people that the gym is a place for exercise and for training and stuff. But what I'm an advocate of is it's movement, right? So for example, there's people that say to me, I couldn't do laps in the pool. I'm sick and tired of watching that blue line up and back. Yeah, okay, I can understand that. But if you had a different training regime where you set certain goals, it'd be a vastly different experience to just swimming up and back. Okay, if you don't like swimming, why don't you go and do ocean swims? Why don't you go for a run on the beach, like just or go hiking in the nature? Like there's so many variables of exercise, but everyone seems to narrow down to this gym. And as Frankie was talking about all his injuries, I was also thinking about one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time, Ronnie Coleman, right? Have a look at him now.
Oh no,
Like
he's a
he
mess.
was he
He's a
was lifting massive weights. Now he's on
yeah.
crutches because his back and his hips are completely destroyed because of those massive weights. He has basically had his success has come at a massive cost. So, but he had a
I,
goal and he achieved it.
I have a perspective too about what you're trying to get at, and I think it's not as clear cut as an answer as some may try to find out. I think that a lot of it also has to do, and my experience is, I'm coming from my experience with this too. I can't say it's for everybody, but conventional gyms tend to provide a level of convenience to have something there for you that you can rely on to get something done, right? So it's like you're paying a place to provide you with equipment for you to do specific movements with that equipment in order to achieve a goal. So you have the bullet point, you have the points, the checkpoints to get it done, right? I am not a hiker. I am not a mountain person. I am not a woods person. I mean, I have them. I'll go for a walk in the woods if I have to, right? But if I go for a walk in the woods, like over here, I'm always looking over my shoulder for something trying to bite me, and I think that's just reality. Right? I'm just not into it. But the gym always provided, and it also creates a hangout. It also it has mirrors, so you're constantly checking yourself out to see if everything's working every time you go. So I don't know if there's a vanity perspective to it too. There might be a little bit of vanity going on there for some people. Don't know. But for me, I understand where you're coming from. I think there's also, it's kind of like body type versus what you should be doing with that body type, right? When you're a person who is made for running and they take to it and they find ease with it, even though it's hard, the challenge, it becomes just a challenge. But for some people like myself, if I go running, I can't move after I'm done. Like my feet are swollen. It's just not good. It's not for me, right? So I would never do those free-flowing exercises like that to get myself into shape. But when you find something that works and the environment welcomes you into it, that becomes a solidified present. It becomes solidified in you that is where you belong. And the earlier you do that, the more the foundation is I don't know what the word would be for this, but maybe it's compounding, I guess. As every time you do it, it becomes more and more and more and more of you, and it's less about doing the activity because you have to. You just know that you don't even have to be working out. You just got to be in the space.
Yeah.
Like there were days when I would go just in the face.
Yeah, it becomes part of you.
It does. It just does. So yeah.
I think also like you're probably obviously a lot different, Frankie, because you've got the gym at home. There's a lot of people, and it boils down to motivation. People join gyms or go to a place because they have to. I've got to go somewhere. Because if you're at home sitting there on your phone or doing whatever, I gotta go work out now. You'll find a million ways at home to stop you from actually going and doing it. If you actually have a location to go to, I've allocated this time to go to gym or pool or wherever. I got to go and do it, and that's I guess, and this is scaling right back to the why. I'm doing it at home. It requires a lot of more motivation than for me to go off to a gym and do it. Because then it's like, okay, I've got to go to gym. I've dedicated to this. I've got to go to gym. Where it's just me just walking out the back door and I'm there.
Yeah.
My why is, once again, it's goal orientated. For me to be able to drop my swim times, I've got to have the strength. You got to obviously have swim fitness and stuff, but you also got to have a layer of strength and stuff. And on top of that, my strength training is for my future as well. You know, I still want to wrestle with the boys and, you know, play cricket out there in the street and do all sorts of, go bike rides with them and stuff like that. Go swimming in the ocean. I still do surf life saving, so I'm swimming at the cans and pulling in, doing rescues and stuff like that. But I don't have the strength to do that. They're going to drown.
There are days when I'm in here, and I'll know it too. I'll know that I'm centered and I'm connected. My central nervous system is connected to my physical being. Like I'm in it and I'm doing it, and I could feel that my mind and my body are talking and working as a unit. But there are days when I'll be in here and there is nothing going on. Like I could feel that I am just not there. I'm not connected. And the goal component to that's a big part of it. But I think, you know, as we get older, there is a lot more to juggle, a lot more responsibility, a lot more self-awareness, even self-discovery. I mean, I just turned 50 in September, and it was like a switch went off. Like, I don't know what happened, but I'm just not the person who I was anymore. Like the way
the creaks get louder.
They just that's true. That's a definite for sure. I mean, I started hearing some crazy noises coming out of my joints. I don't know what's going on there, but for me, I could clearly feel that what was once important to me when it came to physical fitness is not important to me like that anymore, and my body lets me know it very quickly. Your joints and your ligaments don't let you know over time. Just one day you wake up and you walk down the stairs or make a subtle move, and all of a sudden you just feel a pop. And it's like, I did nothing just now, and I'm injured. And I would probably say, like the way Steve was saying it, you could recover from muscle activity, guaranteed, but your joints and your ligaments don't recover as quick as your muscles do. They just don't. And they require a lot more time to just... So my self-awareness to injury became a big part of, wow, you know, not for nothing, but I'm going to have to change my goals a little bit here, because I'm realizing now that I'm not going to do those exercises like I used to, and I don't really need to. Now my activities are much more functional driven than they were conventional. You know, I don't do the bench pressing like I used to. I don't do the squat behind the neck anymore like I used to. I don't need to. My body responds very well to calisthenics or using a little bit of weight, and just more of a focus to be centered and focusing on form more than anything else. But the experience after time, if you go into a gym space and you're like, what am I doing here? That's like the same thing for me. Like my friends a lot of them were musicians growing up. They loved to play music. And I would go in with them and watch them play. And they would get me to want to play, but I would try to, but I never felt like I was taking to it. Like I could do it and I could really focus on it. It just never took. It never gelled with my character, my personality, how I felt. And then when I came into the gym space, and not only here, but what I also discovered was through activities like yoga and stretching, conditioning is not dependent on weight training. Conditioning is really dependent on just basically having the proper diet and doing a lot of stretching. And the most important component is trying to relieve as much cortisol as possible. Like the cortisol component, that stress hormone will destroy you. It saturates throughout your whole body, and everything hurts. And now when you get older, you know, your testosterone levels will drop by 50%, and you got cortisol because you're stressed out. And then you get that tie around the waist, and you got all this this unnecessary weight that you're gaining, and you don't know how and why, what's going on, but it's just there. And usually it's related to stress that you have going on. So for me, the space now is more about just trying to relieve the stress as possible and finding ways to just do that. And it's not just weights anymore. I don't have like that rigid blinder mindset that it's got to be the weights and the weights only. Now it's stretching, going for the walk, doing some kettlebell, doing some calisthenics, some of the weights on those days when I feel strong, then I'll hit the weights. But I will never just say one way and one way only. It's now it's about just always being center and knowing what approach to take for that day. Whatever talks to me, that's what I'm going to do.
I think all three of us would agree too that we all will have off days. You'll get in there and just nothing's flowing. You get into that flow state, it's amazing, but you just don't have that flow state and you're just struggling through it. In the past, when I was younger, I would just push through it. So a classic example is January. I was in Melbourne and I had time to go to do some laps in a pool I've never been to before. Set myself a goal. We're going to do this. So wrote my program, went in there, did it, and after the first 2 laps, I was just like, this is shit. I'm struggling. So I had to go 2 ways. I just hop out of the pool and just give it a day, or I continue, but I just change it to make it a little bit easier, just so that I could just get that body movement through, but not push it to how I wanted to push it. So sometimes, and especially as you get older, you will have to adapt. You might be in the middle of a set and you get a little slight twinge. Okay, I've got to either back this up or,
I think that's comes down to us as understanding kind of our whole body, isn't it? Like physiologically, like I think for a long time and only really recently have I understood the true connection between our head and our body. Like I think I've gone through a lot of my life really feeling like my body is one thing and my head is another. Like, but as we know, it's fucking connected, right? So things that go on like here go on here, and things that go on here go on here. Like it's totally connected, right? And I think that understanding, like listening to my body, what my body's telling me, and giving myself some compassion about it is really fucking important. Because and sometimes we can, if we listen to it and be like, okay, so what's that really telling me? Okay, maybe that's just telling me I'm just like, my body is actually, I'm tired because I had a shit night's sleep last night. I got woke up like 3 times by my son, or like, I scoffed some potato chips last night, so I'm having a shit sleep. So, that's on me. So maybe I should just push through this like a little bit more because I'm just not feeling great because of that. But I think there's balance within this, and it's realizing, it's understanding the bigger picture of where we are on that day at that time. And I think we all agree with that, right? Because, and more so as we get older, because, and we learn about ourselves even more, what we can do, what we can't do. Sometimes when I'm in the gym, I'll walk in the gym and I'm like, there's no one in there, like, because no one fucking goes to the gym. My gym, it's like a personal gym sometimes, and I'll walk in there and I'm like, okay, I honestly don't know what I'm going to do sometimes, but I'm like, okay. Like recently, I'm on the exercycle, and I'm doing like a HIIT training, like a high intensity, 30 seconds off, a minute weight, 30 seconds high intensity, like, and my brain's like, I don't want to fucking do this. I don't want to do this. I'm like, I really don't want to do this, but I'm just like, no, like, or I don't know if it's my body saying I don't want to do this, and my head's like, no, you need to do it, and I get on there and I do it, and I get off and I'm like, yeah, I'm so glad I did that, because I know that like after doing this, after me doing that exercise, and then once I've actually done my weights and whatever else I'm going to do, is that the after effect of this and how I'm going to feel, like physiologically, I use this word now, physiologically, because it describes everything in our body, it's better than fucking anything else on this earth that can give me. There's no other pleasure that kind of, I feel, that lasts that long. Like I feel like I'm untouchable. I've got a spring in my step. I'll get a call or a text, and I know I would react differently to that if I hadn't have done that exercise. I'm not perfect. There's a part of me, I get annoyed by a text. I'm like, oh fuck, but I don't have to hold on to that annoyance. Like my brain's like, yeah, cool, like whatever, like we'll just sort that out later on. So, like for you, the after effect of doing this, like, what does it do to you, Steve? Can you go for that? What's
Swimming is I'll take swimming for example. The calisthenics is I usually feel it the next day, a little bit sort of muscles are a little bit needing repair, like they're a bit tight and sore and stuff like that. So I know that the previous day, okay, that was a good workout because now my muscles in repair, they're going to obviously get stronger and stuff like that. Swimming though is, because it's a lot of lung based, so you're actually training your lungs. So your lungs get stronger, and if you're doing a hard set, you're screaming for oxygen as you're breathing and whatever stroke you're doing. So at the end of the session, I'm on top of the world because I've done, I do average a 3K set, 3.5, 4K sets usually. So you think, oh, that's a long swim over time, over that block, but I get in the car, I was like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to start my day because I've had all that training it's basically breath control in a way, because you're getting into that rhythm and you're having to breathe, and as you're swimming harder, you still got to have that breath control. So it's actually training your lungs to get quite stronger, which then obviously your brain is then going, I need this oxygen, but you have to control it. So a lot of this breath control stuff is really good for the brain. And so after swimming, I just feel like I've got 10 times as much energy than if I didn't do it. My brain is a lot more sharper and focused, and I'm not achy or sore if I was doing weights or whatever. I'm ready to go. I am ready to go for it. And I usually try to do swimming in the morning so that the rest of the day I am a go. The calisthenics is more for me to get balance and just maintain the strength and stuff like that. So that's just a routine that I just do all the time and stuff like that. So at the end of the session, I'm sweating. Okay, I've done a bit of body movement, I've done a bit of strength training, and then I just start my day. But the swimming is just, and I know that runners are the same thing. If they get into that breath control when they're running, they have that same feeling as well. Same with cyclists, when they get that right cadence in the pedal speed, and they get a good cadence going, and they control their breath. Same thing. They feel amazing after a session. It's just, I just think it gives you better energy, better, sharper mind. You just feel physically better. You feel physically stronger and have so much more energy.
Do you feel younger?
And
do you feel like you're kind of?
Oh yeah.
You feel like you're almost dialing. You've kind of dialed back a few years. I do. I feel like I'm like.
Well, I look over the years. So a lot of my swim times have not dramatically changed over the years. I'm still swimming very similar times to what I did when I was in my 30s. Maybe a little bit slower, but I'm getting back to how I was. Like I'm specifically doing training to knock my. I was doing 1:1500s, and I'm now doing 1:2000s, 5 seconds slower. But I'm building to get to those 1:15. So it's like, so if I'm doing 1:15s at 52 years of age, and I'm still doing that same times that I was doing when I was in my mid to late 20s,
yeah,
it's a massive jump. That's a really good goal to
And
have. It's like,
yeah, and it helps. I mean, we use the word ego in a negative way, but it actually does help your ego. It helps your self confidence, doesn't it? You think,
well,
man,
yeah, it
like,
just, yeah, yeah. Well, it's even simple things like I've talked to people where just a simple squatting down so that
mm,
your feet are flat on the ground and your
mm,
bottom's almost touching the ground. Like, so you
mm,
do a full squat, like
yeah, yeah,
what Japanese people do and stuff like that. A lot of people here can't do that.
mm,
And they're like in their 20s. Oh, I can't do that. They
yeah,
fall
yeah,
over or they just can't get
yeah,
down. And I drop straight down and do it.
yeah. Just to show off,
So
see?
it's like, well, no, it's to show,
No, but
it's for me.
no, it's
Well,
fine.
for that
Yeah,
ego thing,
yeah, yeah,
the ego thing, it's like, I'm twice as old as you and I can do
yeah. I know.
that. It just shows that it's
I
because of all those years of discipline and then
yeah,
all those years of training and stuff like that. If I can do that at 50 and if I can do that at 80,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
going to be a step ahead of everyone else at 80
100%.
and I'm going to
Yeah,
have, and it's all about longevity, just less injuries, less
yeah,
um, issues later in life. Fitness is also about keeping your body healthy.
mm,
So you could be working with someone who drinks and smokes all the time, and they're never sick. You might occasionally get sick because obviously your immune system's run down because you've been training so hard. But fast forward to in their 80s, they could be in a hospital with cancer and stuff,
mm,
and you're still doing training and still like
mm,
it's that longevity.
yeah,
As you get older, there's going to be more niggles and things happening and stuff. But if you can keep maintaining that body and still continue training and keep your fitness and keep your weight down, obviously, and stuff like that, those later years, you're going to have better quality of life than those that have just been partying their whole life and stuff
mm,
like that. So that's the macro goal. Right at the end there, it's like in my 80s and 90s, I want to still be able to get in the pool and do some laps. I might not have the times that I'll have it, but I want to just keep doing those, just
yeah.
keep moving, keep
Just keep
swimming, and
moving.
just keep doing stuff.
Frankie, what about you, mate? Like for you, like when you finish that workout, and your, what is it? That feeling.
Well, it changes from day to day for me. I think the first thing I feel more than anything else is clarity that
Mm,
I was able to communicate. My body was able to communicate and be centered in that moment, right? So if I'm not centered, I really can't function throughout the day whatsoever. So if I don't work out, my body is just all over the place, and
mm,
and my mind is all over the place, and I have to bring myself to be much more focused in order to do anything else. So
mm,
for me, I think it's almost like a psychological necessity for me. Like I have to be in the space in order. If like Steve said earlier, if I don't have training in my life, I can't survive. I'm not
mm,
going to make it. And for me, it's because I've always had it throughout my whole life for something to rely on when everything else failed. This never did.
mm,
And then that to me, I think is the biggest part of it is just whenever I finish a workout, there is this sense of it's speaking to me that you did good.
mm,
You did good. Like this, it's an 8 foot by 6 foot space that I have here, right? And in this space, I can leave as much as I can. I can leave everything outside of it. The second I step outside of it, it's reality. When I'm in this space, it's about focusing on myself to make a better version of me in whatever capacity that is, right? So whether it's to try to create muscle or whether it's to just uh, stop beating myself up over something that I was beating myself up over, whether it's my son who just had a seizure and I needed to get the energy out of the fight or flight that I just
mm,
dealt with as a result of it. This space always gave me the opportunity to not let life beat me down to the point that I can't take care of myself. Because if I don't come into this space, I know life is beating me up. But by me coming into this space, it tells me that I'm not letting life dictate to me how it's going to work.
mm,
Like I'm dictating it to it. That look, I have no control over what you're going to do, what you're going to try to throw at me. But I do know when I'm in here, you have no control over me. So I'm going to do whatever it is to bring myself to center so I can handle whatever you're going to throw at me. And when I walk back out of it, I'm ready to deal with it. Like there's a feeling of, okay, I'm ready for whatever you're going to throw at me today.
Yeah. So I think sorry, go Steve. Yeah.
I was going to say, and another analogy is those plates that are behind you. They're just weights and they're just numbers, right? So
Yep.
you get those plates on and you're lifting away, and you're just not, you just can't. It's just not working for you today. You take a couple of those plates off, and they're doing it. You're learning to adapt to how your mind and body is feeling. If you do that at the start of the day, and you're in that zone and you're in that flow state, the rest of the day you're going to adapt to anything. And all they are just plates with numbers on it. And it's not, you don't have to deal with people. You're now dealing with yourself, your mind and your body. And those plates are those representations of the challenges that you could potentially face for the rest of the day, whatever it may be. And so, you're learning to adapt to it.
So, like to your point about adapting, that's it's a very important part of the whole equation, because my period of the day that I like to do anything that involves resistance training happens around lunchtime. That's when I like to do it. Okay. In the morning, I don't have the strength yet to get to that. I just don't have it. But I do have the strength to center myself for whatever's going to come for the morning. Right. So I'll come into the space and I'll do my stretches, or I'll do the squat as you're talking about. I'll literally get into that squat position and I'll stay there for 10 minutes just to let the back just do its stretch. I'll do my hangs to just let the back decompress. And I don't hit any of the weights at that time. I will now start going to work and do what I got to do for work. But then once the day is pretty much halfway through, whatever stresses I'm dealing with, I will say to it, stay to the side for about an hour. I got to go do something. And I'll feel life say to me, no, but you have to, but no, I don't. You're going to stay over here while I go into this space for an hour, and I'm going to focus on me, because you're never going to stop coming after me. I already know that. So I'm going to come into this space, do what I got to do, because I'm in control, not you. And then when I'm done, you can continue to come at me again. So that way I've done what I needed to do to bring myself back to center, to take care of the rest of the day. And that goes for work, that goes for family, that goes for kids, for wife, for everything. You're going to constantly be expected to perform. You got to be able to just say, step out. These are my boundaries. These are my parameters. I'm doing what I got to do to take care of me in whatever fashion that is. And then at the end of the day, when my family goes to sleep, I go for a walk at night. I'll go for an hour walk just around the block, and I'm good, and I'm done for the day. That's how I handle it.
Fantastic. I love this so much. I want to ask you guys a really interesting question here, because I think I've realized myself in the past, I would say in the past year, 2 years maybe, is that something that I do every day that sets me up to be who makes me feel like I can do things. It's I'm trying to kind of put this into words, and sometimes words just don't seem to kind of help me here. But every day when I get up, I hit the shower, and I have a hot shower, and then I turn it on to cold. I flick it to cold. And I've been doing this now for 2 years, every single day. Pretty much, I think it's probably, unless I'm actually got the flu, I'm not doing it. But every single day, I turn it round to cold, and I stand in the cold shower, and it can be anything from like a minute to 5 minutes. I'm in this cold shower, and in that cold shower, I do squats. I do about 30 squats in the cold shower. and sometimes I increase it to 40. Sometimes if I'm feeling, I'm really like, fuck, I just want to get out of the shower. I'm doing like 10 power squats where I'm going down slow and then I push myself up really fast. Like, but I'm always fucking doing it. I'm always doing it because sometimes I'm just like, I don't have the time, or I'm under pressure, or Jamie's standing outside the shower because I've got to, like, he's like, whatever it is, I've got up late. But I'm always doing this cold shower, and I'm always doing some squats, some kind of stretches in that shower as well. And that makes me start my day. It allows me to kind of almost like, it's like the roots of a tree of my day. Do you have anything that kind of, when you start your day, or something in your day that is like, I must do this, or you really feel like you've got to do it, and then it allows you to kind of move on? Do you have anything?
I've got, I get up in the morning, early in the morning, and the first thing I do is meditation. So I've always meditated. I've always dabbled with meditation. I got serious quite a few years ago and did a 10-day silent retreat, which just absolutely, that's going another level. That's like, I think I counted, it was a total of about 9 hours of meditation each day. It was broken up into segments and stuff. That was on another level. And then coming back from that, that just completely changed my whole way of, the way I look at it now is I get out of bed, and the first thing I do is meditate. And that's, for me, is to center my mind, center my body, center everything, remain still and quiet. And once that's done, right, I'm ready to, whatever's going to hit me, I'm ready to go. You just throw whatever you want at me.
Sorry, Steve, can I just jump in there? Because I think that, like, I don't want to take over your story here. I do that at the back end of my cold showers now. I started last year in October. I sit there, and I meditate for about, I don't know how long actually, probably anything between 5 and 15 minutes. But what do you do if you can give someone just a tool, a real simple meditation tool? Because I feel like some people, like, it's meditation is this big thing that we think it's like so hard, or so like you've got to have all these things to do it. What do you do specifically, if you can tell us, like, what's the simplest meditation that you do?
Well, the simplest form, there's so many different ways you can do meditation. The simplest form is just to sit quietly in a comfortable position with no distractions or everything. You could set your timer on your phone to however you want, and then you just sit calmly and just feel the breath in and out, and so you just feel the breath coming in and you feel the breath coming out. Guarantee within 5 seconds your mind's starting to wander. Don't get frustrated by that. Don't get, this is not working for me. Just go. Mind can wander for 10 minutes before you realize, oh, hang on, I'm not meditating. You just quietly bring it back, and then just start focusing on the breath again. You just think about the breath. There's many methods. You can count to 5 breaths in, so many different. But just by concentrating on something very simplistic like your breath, and it's not about trying to clear your mind so you're not thinking. Your mind's always going to work, but it's just being more aware of your thoughts, aware, like, this is not what I'm supposed to be focusing on right now. Yes, I know I'm thinking about what's happening in the day or what's happened the previous day. Nothing's going to happen about that. Let's just focus back on the breath again. Focus back on the breath again. Mind might wander on something else. Just go back and forth.
And that's okay, isn't it? I think
that's completely. That's actually, when I very first started meditation, I was extremely frustrated when I very first started 25 years ago. When I first started I was thinking, I have to clear. I can't think of anything, and it started getting so frustrating because 30 seconds in, my mind's wandering. It's like, no, I gotta. This is not working, and it's the hardest thing. You can make it the hardest thing you could possibly do if you had that mindset. The whole thing is just to be like, I've done a 30-minute meditation center. I've done an hour meditation session where I think probably a total of about a minute of that 30 minutes, I've actually sat and listened to my breath. The rest of the time, my mind's wandering. At the end of the session, I'm not going to get frustrated. I'm just going to go, well, I was still, I wasn't moving a muscle. My breath was calm and focused. The only thing that was wandering a lot was my mind. Maybe my mind needed that. Maybe my mind needed to get rid of that junk, because once that junk's gone, I might have only focused on my breath for a minute of that 30 minutes or to an hour. But now all that junk's gone, I can now focus on what I really need to think about. And you tend to be a lot more focused,
100%. Frankie, I'll pass back to you. It's getting late for you, Frankie. So, what is one thing that you like for you that makes it in that day?
Oh, I think I would probably say something similar to what Steve was talking about. The morning, the setup for the morning is a real important part of it. So for me, like the one thing is when I get my coffee, what I'll do is down here, like it's going to start to warm up pretty soon. Like we've had a pretty big cold winter over here, but now it's starting. Tomorrow's going to be 70 degrees for the first time. And my big thing is to open the garage door, right, and get the sun into the garage of the actual gym space. So when I do that, I'll come down here, whether it's 7 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock in the morning, get the garage door open, stay in the gym space, and I'll stretch. But I'll also listen to something like Hertz. You ever listen to any Hertz or anything like that? Just sound beats.
Just right. Okay.
Or sustained sounds. So I'll listen to a lot of that, a lot of ambient music, something that gets you in a very tranquil mindset just to breathe. And I'll do my stretching with the sun, with the garage door being outside, with that music going, just to start the day. And that doesn't last for more than maybe 15 minutes at the most, because it's a period of time where your mind is absolutely centered to your body, and your central nervous system is you are completely in the moment at that time. But it doesn't last forever. You can only stay in that. You'll move on to the next moment after that. And after about 10 minutes or so, I start to get distracted because I know I have other things I have to do. But for 10 minutes, I let that be. And that usually sets me right. If I don't do that, it just becomes chaos right out of the gate. And that doesn't do anything beneficial. And then by the time you get to lunch, by the time I get to that period of working out, whatever that I choose to do for that day, I'm now harboring all of this chaos that I wasn't able to have been prepared for the day. And now I have to find a way to center myself in order to do my workout. So my morning gets me centered. I deal with whatever comes my way. And then come the afternoon, I try to take it from there. So I think meditation in whatever form that it's in, whether it's through stretching, whether it's through yoga, whether it's through just listening to something to just try give your mind that balance that's required. I think anything that you can do especially at our age, is a big part of it. And I think another component to it, not to go crazy deep into the whole thing, but a lot of self-reflection of the past and who you were versus who you are now, I think has got a big part to do with it. For me, whenever I walk into that gym space in the morning, like I'm always thinking about how am I different today than what I was yesterday? Or what could I have done yesterday that I could have done differently that would have been a better version of me towards my family and all of it. And I think if you, for myself, if I'm not honest with myself as to what I was doing yesterday or what I could have been better at, and I lie to myself and not take accountability for anything, my day is not going to go well. And I think the component of accountability had a lot to do with how much turmoil and how my head was constantly dealing with so much chaos, because there was a lot of things that I just was not accepting. And once I started to just say, I'm not That's not my responsibility. I'm not accountable for that. I'm accountable for how I respond and how I react. For some reason, things became that much more accepting and easier to navigate. And then when I would do that, when I'm actually doing my stretching, I don't feel like I'm being distracted up here, because I put to rest those things that I was not coming to terms with.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the age component with where we are and what we're doing has got a lot to do with it. I would never be doing what I'm doing now if I was 25. When I was 25, I had the energy of a horse, and I could do a lot more.
Mm.
Once you start realizing your mortality, and you start recognizing that you're getting older, and you start realizing that you're pretty much definitely past the halfway point of your life, things will definitely change, and your maturity level becomes an absolute necessity, and you have no one else to answer to except for yourself, and you got to be accountable for all of that. And I think that meditation part is an absolute necessity for a person to become to that point where they just say to themselves, "It's okay. It's okay."
Do you I asked Junko a question last night, and I said I'm going to ask you guys this question. I didn't ask her the question. I just said to her, I'm going to ask you this, and she gave me the answer of what mine was. But I want to hear maybe what yours is. What does your wife say? What does your wife say about you? Like when you do all this exercise and all this and exercise and the training, what would she say? How does it change you? Like, what would she say, do you think? Like, if I was to ask her, like, and say, how does it change? How does it affect Steve? Like, what would they say?
Oh, she'd say it's a pain in the ass because it takes out part of the schedule that I could be doing other stuff.
But the benefit, I'm talking about the benefit of you doing it, though.
So we'll benefit from it.
The benefit I'm talking about, sorry. I wasn't clear about it.
She knows if I don't do exercise or meditation or any of my routine, she can see how extremely frustrated I am, because this is part of who I am. This is one of my values, is that I need to exercise. I need to look after myself. The good thing about my wife is she's into health. She's especially into nutrition and stuff like that. So she's right into all that sort of stuff. So she does exercise, but probably not as much as what I would do. She'd probably do Pilates and stuff like that. But so and she sees the benefits when she exercises, how good she feels and stuff like that. Bordering on an obsession sometimes, where it's like, I need to train. And if she goes, no, you need to be able to do that. You have to do this. This is part of our schedule. Then she sees how irritable I am for the rest of the day if I'm not putting that schedule on. She sees how irritable I am when I get a slight injury and can't train. I get I need to get that energy out, and I need to. That's part of who I am. Yeah. So I would say she see how important it is, but all jokes aside, she also could see it is a bit of a pain when I'm trying to fit it into my busy schedule and stuff. No, I need to train. Train. But you should be doing this and that and that. And that's all. But I need to do this training. If I do the training, I'm a lot more calmer, a lot more organized, have a lot more clarity. Having said that, I try to do things like, for example, meditation. I'll get up earlier before anyone else, so that everyone's still sleeping when I'm doing it. So there's no hassles and no distractions and stuff like that. And a lot of the time when I'm doing training now, it's either really early in the morning when they're all still asleep, or everyone's at work or doing other things. I'll squeeze that in. It's just a matter to, once again, all that balance and stuff like that. Yeah. But I think she sees that if I'm not doing what I feel is important in my life, in the sense of training and doing the meditation stuff, she could see that I just get that little bit more irritable. I need to do it. It's part of, I don't like to say it's part of my time, my space. it's just, I just need that because it's an important part of me, because I've done it for pretty much my whole life, really. It's if I haven't done it for a while, it's like, because I've got a job in the States for 45 days, and I'm now trying to think how I'm going to fit a training regime in this. So I'm already thinking ahead, because I know that if I'm not getting any of that, I'll do meditation. That's easy enough. But just any time the exercise, I might have to go in the hotel room and do push-ups or whatever. But I'm already starting to think about that already, and that's not until June, July. So because I know it'll get to me.
It will get to you, Frankie. I want to pass it to you now. Like, what about you? What would your wife say? What are the benefits?
Well, my wife is a very suggestive individual. Like she will always suggest to me what she thinks I could do to help me, right? And part of me will entertain it, right?
And the other half,
entertain is probably the best word for it. But then the other part of me will just be like, kind of like Steve. Like if I don't get in what I know I need to get in for that day, I become just a complete asshole. And that's
I love the honesty. I love the honesty about it. Like,
I'm not a nice guy. I'm not a nice guy. If I don't get what I need out of that little bit, I'm not a nice person after that. I become very irritated. I get very angry, and it's not because I'm addicted to it. I'm not addicted to it. There is so much that is required of my wife and myself every single day. Okay, if I can't have this, you're gonna have problems. Like not like I'm threatening you. It's not a threat. It's just a reality. Like I need to keep myself centered. That's what this is for me, right? So for her, she's very suggestive, and sometimes she makes sense with a lot of stuff, but most of the time it's not that I'm not listening to her, it's that I'm already doing what she's already suggesting. So I don't really speak about it. I don't speak about it, right? I don't tell her, hey, today I'm going to start doing this. So there are days when I do tell her, I actually started doing this, and it does work for me, right? But just yesterday morning, she was talking about being a caretaker, and how the requirements of a caretaker don't require me to have to go deadlift 315 pounds. She's 100% correct about that. She just is. I'm not going to deny that. She's 100% correct. And all the things that she was suggesting for me to do, I was already doing. So it tells me two things. One, she's always thinking, for my well-being, which I know she is, right? But I also know it's got to be my choice on this. I'm one of those types that when it comes to suggestions, I don't do well with people telling me how I should do things for me, especially if I am the one who is going to be doing it. Like
yeah, right.
I don't do well with it. I never did. I never will. It's like, oh, this is how I think you should put together your home, and I'll just be like, you really think that way? Here, you do it. It's like, let me do what I got to do the way I have to do it. That is it. Just I thank you, but no, thank you. But I'm not saying I reject everything. When I know I'm wrong about something, or I have an approach that really wouldn't be worth my while, I don't do it. But the thing is, she's always, whenever I tell her I discover something new, she'll go, good. I also don't think she cares either way. As long as I'm not an asshole, it's fine with her. Like I think that's the bottom line. As long as I'm not treating anyone disrespectfully, she doesn't give a shit what the hell I do, as long as I'm not doing that.
And it's the same. It's also like with the it's going back to the goals. When you're setting a micro goal of what you like. Okay, tomorrow I'm going swimming, and I want to do this meet these times, or do this distance, or whatever like that. And if all of a sudden the wife comes and goes, you forgot about that thing that we've got, and oh no, so now I can't swim. There goes my, and you're looking forward to that goal. And it's
Yeah.
also interesting too when I'll come, like it happened the other day. I sit in the car with her and I was just saying, oh, I was smashing 120s over a K. It was like for 100s. Her reaction is, oh, okay.
She's like, whatever.
To her, yeah, because to her, that's not her goal. That's not her thing. It's, but I'm just telling her that, like, I'm so, like, I've reached this, what I wanted to achieve. So I'm just saying to her that's how good I feel.
Yeah.
But for her, it's just like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, it's like it's a personal victory, isn't it? It's like a personal
achievement. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't need to go on Instagram and stuff and say, hey, look what I've done. It's like, no, I don't need to announce that to the world. This is my own personal thing that I want to achieve.
Yeah, I think the journey itself for us, I think as we just get older, I think the goals are so much more personal now. They've got nothing to do with having to show everybody what you've done. Look what I've created. I don't give a shit about it. At least not anymore, I don't. Maybe there was a time when I felt like I wanted to show off. But it wasn't about showing off. I think it was about just wanting respect. And then in the end, it's like I wasted a lot of my time thinking about things that really didn't matter. Like nobody gave a shit about any of that. Nobody gives a flying fuck about what I'm succeeding at. So what am I doing? Wasting my time chasing after people to get that respect. I mean, that was like, for me, there was some of that going on. It just was. For me now, it's like when I tried going to a gym a few times to go work out, and it's just not the same place as it was when I was working out. Everyone's on their phones and they're sitting down on the equipment, not getting up. And it's like when I worked out, there could be sweat dripping down the back of the fucking chair. They would just take a towel, wipe it off, and get on and do the reps. And we would just jump back and forth. You had weights on. I can't do that much weight. They would take the weight off. You do your set, put the weight back on for the other person. They do their set. Now it's like they don't want to give up after they do their 5 sets. And now you're waiting 20 minutes. It's like, what is this? And just the whole gym environment just completely became a shit show. It's all about showing off.
I think there's something really. I think you raise a really interesting point, Frankie, and I would love to go into the depths of and discuss this, but I think we clearly we need to be wrapping this up from a sleep perspective. For you, I could talk all day about this. I want to kind of wrap it up with one final kind of discussion here, which is about like if there's anyone, whether it's male or female, a mum or dad listening to this, what is there any piece of advice that you would say, hey, like, something that might kind of resonate with them, something small, for them to inspire them, or kind of because it starts with inspiration and then the motivation kind of like is secondary to this. So I wonder if there's any inspirational quote or advice you could throw out there to anyone listening about their journey, starting their journey or continuing on their journey, or re-inspire them, re-motivate them perhaps, to do some kind of movement or training or some kind of exercise. What would that be? Is there anything? Who wants to go first?
Well, I say this to my kids that I teach at the pool and stuff like that, and winning is not about places and stuff. Winning is about, and I say this to the kids, winning is about being better today than what you were yesterday, every day. That could be anything, anything in life, whether it's training. So, for example, if you do, let's say, we'll go back to swimming again. So if you do 100 meters and you do a certain time, right, or over a period of 10 times doing that, and you're trying to hit that mark of a time. The next time you do it, try to do a little bit better. And not be the times, but just how well you feel and stuff. It's always about, winning is about being better than what you were yesterday, every day. So every day you just got to try and get better and better and move forward and stuff like that. And just quickly, just for those that are actually thinking about, oh yeah, I should get back into doing some sort of exercise. My advice would be, find something that's you enjoy doing. Don't feel like you have to, oh well, I've got to, go for a run. If you don't like running, don't do running. Do something that some sort of movement. It might be short, like what Frankie does, so walk around the block, to finish his day, right? But after a while that becomes monotonous. So then you might form a walking group or something like that, and then all of a sudden someone might suggest, hey, we're going to do a 5-day hike trip, overseas or whatever, on a holiday, where we do 20k hikes every day and stay in huts and stuff like that. Oh yeah, that sounds good. All of a sudden now you're ramping up what you were already doing, and once again that's now a goal to set. So now all of a sudden your evening walks or whatever, you're doing more and more and more to get to that ultimate, I've got to get 20Ks in because I can't let the team down or the group down and stuff like that. But I always say this, find something that you really love to do, any sort of movement. And the second important thing is, please ensure that you get enough rest. Sleep is so important when it comes to any exercise, because if you don't get enough rest and you're planning to do training the next day, you're going to feel crap. Period. I don't care. If you're the type of person, oh yeah, I can survive in 6 hours sleep, eventually it'll catch up, and you'll get injuries and you'll feel like crap and the motivation will drop. So I would say that would be my quote,
Okay.
Winning, being
like
better, being better than what you were yesterday every day. And yeah, just if you want to get back into doing any sort of movement, exercise, find something that there's so many things you can do. So many things. If you're a team person, join a soccer team or pickleball or tennis or all that sort of stuff. If you're like potentially, or us three, like to do individual, alone, me exercises, do the gym, do yoga, do Pilates, do all that sort of stuff. Right. So that's what I would probably say.
All right, Frankie, let's volley it over to you there. What do you got?
I think it's easier said than done to try to give insight to people, to have them a motivation to do something. I think the word motivation has many different definitions, right? Motivation. I think goals are probably would be the word I like to choose to use, because motivation requires me to put a lot of energy in that I don't think I have the energy to put in, right? My perspective on things is would never tell somebody that they have to commit to it. Because if you tell someone they got to commit to it, the second they hear that, they've already given up. They don't want to do it because they're already thinking down the road, and now they have paralysis by analysis, and they start thinking about, I got to do all this shit and I don't want to do it. And I don't think that's beneficial for anybody. My approach of it was my approach of it would be to, what could you do today that you think you could do tomorrow?
Oh, I like that. I like that one,
right?
Actually.
Because it gives them an insight to the idea that, what could I do right now in this moment, right, without even having to really put much effort into it, but it's something, right? And then after I do it, then I would then say, ask yourself the question, do you think you could see yourself doing this tomorrow? And the answer is no. Okay. The only thing you got to commit to is doing something. You think you could try something different tomorrow? You have to give there's got to be some sort of accountability, but not the kind of accountability where you're giving them an hour's regimen of working out that they got to follow every day for the week. They're never going to follow that. They're just not going to. And if they do, the sustainability of it is very, very little, because there has to be a solidified foundation for that person to understand the why they're doing And that why is probably the most important component to the whole equation. If they don't have that why, they're not going to get it. And that why is not something that you can verbalize. It's a combination of things and thought processes and days that have gone by and experiences of feeling better than what you did before you did it. And you don't know what that combination is going to be. You just don't know it. So to me, it's a matter. It's kind of like you're trying to lure them in, but not in a malicious manner where you're going to trick them into thinking, see, I got you now. Now you love it. It's got nothing to do with that. It's more about, if I asked you to do something right now, what do you think you can do? I'll probably just go for a walk. Let's go for a walk. Let's go for it. Not only will I go for a walk, but I'll go for the walk with you. Right? Go for the walk. And then after the walk, ask yourself the question, could I see myself doing this tomorrow? Well, the walk felt good. Maybe I will do it tomorrow. Maybe it's fine. And just commit to doing something, and you don't have to know what that is. And then as time goes on, you'll start picking up on the trend of what it is that's working. Because part of the issue, I think, with getting people to be motivated is that the word itself just completely shuts them down. Motivated. It just, motivation is a very hard word to define for many people when they're depressed or they're in pain or something, whatever it is. But if you can get them to find something they could do, you got to get past that hump first. Because if you can't get past that hump, you're just forcing them to do it.
Yeah. It's funny listening to you guys, like, they're just talking about your kind of advice or your ideas, and I was thinking, like, as you're talking, I was thinking, like, what the fuck would I say? And like, I found myself thinking, like, I want to find this kind of magic formula to inspire someone listening, and I guess what it is that it's just, at some point in time, it just lands with people, doesn't it? It just lands with them, and then they find it through that. It just lands. Like, whenever it lands, like, you might be listening, watching something on TV, or listening to this podcast or another podcast, or watching a YouTube video or something, is it just lands with them. Some little kind of bulb kind of goes off, and they think, maybe I might do something, isn't it? Sometimes you can hear all the things in the world about whether it's meditation or exercise or walking or swimming or running or fucking cold showers, whatever it is. Like, if it lands with that person at the right time, that's the inspiration, right? And I suppose if I, like, maybe contradicting myself here a little bit, but I suppose if I was to kind of give kind of inspirational advice, is maybe to think about those things, which kind of goes against, like, perhaps what you were saying, Steve. You were saying, like, you're not a runner, you hate running. But I was like that. But I actually pushed with running because I was like I wanted to do some cardio. I wanted to do cardio, and I was like, cycling wasn't fucking doing my gig. So I was like, fuck, I'm going to run. So I started to run. And I was running like 3 minutes, and I was fucking dead on my ass on the treadmill. I literally would, like, but I was like, fuck this, I'm going to keep doing this. And because I've never been a runner before, and I still don't class myself as a runner, but I think that image of being a runner, it sounds like you've got to do marathons, or you've got to do running, like, you've got to be this professional runner. I think that, sometimes we don't have to, it doesn't have to tick one of a big box for us, as long as we're doing it and feeling the benefit after. And I suppose, like, do we want to be better people after? Do we want to feel better after? And I guarantee you, everyone wants to feel better after this, don't they? They all want to feel like things that we talked about before. We all want to feel like we've got like a weight off our shoulders. We all want to feel like we've got clear heads. We all want to feel fucking great. We want to feel like we can smash it out the park and be the best person we want to be. It's taking that step. And I think my advice is that one step, that one thing that we do is, it's not going to be like, you're not going to get a instant result. Maybe that's my advice and my inspiration, whatever that is. Like, is that you're not going to get it straight away. I don't think it's going to happen. I think you do it once. That's great. And Frankie, you and I love it. You said, like, can you do this again tomorrow? Well, let's try again tomorrow. And then maybe the day after that, do you feel any better? Well, I did like 5 that day. I did 6 this day. Like, well, okay, like maybe I can do 7 again. Maybe I can do 7 tomorrow. Like, and it might be simple as like calf raises or something. Fuck, I don't know. Like, like something is better than fucking nothing and sitting on our asses.
Well,
because that's what I did. I did sweet fuck all.
Yeah, I think the most important component, I think, to any kind of success in any kind of physical activity is you have to find, and again, it's not verbalized. It's an experience that you go through a process that you otherwise did not predict. It's the unpredictable components that bring you to want to do it again. If you could predict it, why would you want to do it again? Unless after you've done it so many times, you know what the result's going to be, and you push yourself to get a better result from it because you always want to be progressively getting better at something. But I think that there is a real disconnect between what people are told they are required to do to get into physical fitness or to get into a moving state versus truly what works. And that component that has to happen, it's got to be internally within the individual to take it a day at a time. And just don't worry about next week. Don't worry about tomorrow. Don't worry about today. Could you do something today? And if they say I can't do anything today, but I can do it tomorrow, them saying that is the first step, right? The physical component will come later if it has to, but you have to solidify a base for a person to want to do it. And not committing to something and not doing it is also a character trait that a lot of people have to also be able to get past. That's my opinion about it. I could be corrected on that. But that important component of just letting them have experiences where it's communicating to them that cannot be verbalized is probably the most crucial component for them to consistently create those stepping stones that will then solidify and become compounded, and they'll have a foundation they can work off to understand that now you have changed your life structure, right? And you've changed what your life needs to be. And you realize now you need this. And now it becomes a part of you. And that happens by accident. You don't know what that is that solidifies. It just happens through the moments.
Yeah.
I think also that there's other part of it with someone who hasn't been exercising or haven't done much exercise in their life. You've got the media and social media component of that where they feel too afraid to do it because all of a sudden you see all these fit people on there and you might be a bit overweight, carrying a bit of weight and stuff. It's like, oh, I'm never going to be looking like that, sort of thing. It's kind of in your face with that, especially with the fitness industry. All those fitness magazines, it's always bodybuilders full of steroids and they look just absolutely chilled to the bone, like just absolutely chiseled like that. And it's like, I'm never going to look like that. What's the? Some people think that way. It's like, well, I don't want to look like that. So but I think there's a bit of trickery in the social media and media side of things with whether it's newspaper or internet and stuff like that. That people feel pressured to. That's what you need to look like. 100%. Where what I think what we're all three of us have been saying is it's not what you look like. It's how you feel. Do something that you feel great, that you want to do tomorrow, that you want to keep moving on and getting better at it, etc., etc. Because it's more of a feeling more so than the the end results are going to come. If you train whatever, you're going to end up looking better than what you did previously because you're doing the exercise. But it's about that. I feel great. I got more energy. My mind's more clearer. I've got a routine. I've got goals. That's what people probably need to think about more so than just all those things you see on Instagram and Facebook and all that sort of stuff. Those people have been probably training their ass off for 10 years to look like that. They don't see, all they see is just, look what I look like now, look what I can do now.
Yeah.
They haven't seen what they've been doing in the lead up to that, and that could have been taken years and years to do. So
yeah. I totally agree with that. I totally agree. And it's very hard to kind of get sometimes perspective on it because of that.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy. It's in front of you all the time. If you're on socials, I try not to, but it is a road of kind of trying to get it in the right lane, because you don't want to be comparing yourself, competing against someone else. Like, you want to be doing it for the right reasons. You want to be doing it for your reasons, and those can change. They can change, modify, whatever. But I think we are all in agreement that it's something that it can be done, and you can start it when you're 25, you can start it when you're 55, you can start it when you're 65, whatever. My dad, I'm sure he won't mind me saying this, and is that he does like some. I didn't know this until about a year or so ago, but he actually does like all kind of exercises with like the elastic bands,
resistance training.
Resistance training, yeah. And he never did this. He never. My dad is like he is not a guy who goes and does runs. He is not a guy who jumps on a bicycle and cycles around and does. But he's not like that. So he took the step to do this, and he's doing it, and he does it within the realms of what he wants to do and can do. And I think that's amazing.
And you ask him, how do you feel about now you started this? He'll probably go, I feel great. I feel stronger. Yeah. And that's what we're saying. It's about the feeling of.
It's the feeling. It's like feeling that you're actually doing something for yourself. No one else, for yourself. And I think it's that is the, if there's an underlining thing here with all the conversations we've had tonight, is that it's for yourself, and ultimately that's a flow-on effect that will flow on to those around us. Guys, I really want to thank you for this. It's been a great chat, and the first time I've had three discussing it, and it's been a different format to what we normally do, but it's been really, really fun. So thank you very much, Frankie, all the way in the States there. It's I think it's about 12:30 at night, in the morning. Sorry, 12:30 in the morning for you.
Yeah, it is.
Yep. And
well, because you're in the gym now, you might as well do a workout right now.
Just start early, mate. Just get into it.
Just start early.
Just crack on. But no, really, honestly, thanks, guys. It's been amazing. Really appreciate it. And I just can't wait to get this one out into the world, so we can all share, so people can hear it, and maybe relate to some of these things as well, and not feel like they're alone in their kind of journeys and all their experiences. So yeah, thanks very much, guys. It's been really
awesome.
Really cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Steve.
All right. Cool.
Nice meeting you, Frankie. We'll talk
all right.
soon.
Same to you, Steve. Honestly, yeah, definitely. Let's talk soon. All right, guys. I want to sign off.
Yeah. Yep. All right.
Yeah. Cheers. All right.
Take it easy. Good night.
See you later. Right. Bye.
Bye.